I think by that time we were kind of hitting our own groove. Right at the beginning, we were obviously, as a beginning band, we were influenced by the musicians that sort of inspired us to pick up our instruments. And I mean, between us, it was people like, John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Return to Forever, very much kind of jazz fusion, Miles Davis, all of that stuff, Bitches Brew. Also people like Stevie Wonder, James Brown, Cream, Jimi Hendrix. That was the kind of collective gene pool of the people that inspired us. And plus the fact that there were 3 drummers in the band originally, because I used to play drums and Mark used to be a drummer before he became a bass player. So it was all about Billy Cobham, Tony Williams, Lenny White, that kind of thing. I think it's to do with the quality of the songwriting, to be honest. The thing is that there are a lot of good young songwriters, but whether you hear them as much as you would do in the 80s. In the 80s, there was a system, there was the whole record company thing, there was the whole promotion and radio play. We made a record and we made an album and we chose singles, or we chose singles along with the record company that would get on the radio, and they had to be a certain length to be able to play on the radio. And if you got on the radio, then other people would hear it and then they'd buy the record, and if they liked it, they'd buy the album. And things work very differently now. So I think, partly it's a nostalgia for youth that the 80s thing is popular, but the 80s music had a kind of style about it. It also had a huge diversity. There were a lot of bands that were popular in the 80s that were quite different from each other. And what you hear on the radio today, it depends on which radio station you listen to, you can often hear a lot of groups that sound very similar to each other, so you don't have the diversity that you're hearing in mainstream radio. You've got to search elsewhere. If I could find a record shop for a start, I'd start in the jazz section. I'd be looking through to see, if any particular artists that I really like have got either a new recording out or an old recording that I'd not heard, or maybe had been recommended to me. Sean Freeman, who plays sax at Level 42, he's great because he's always sort of name-checking great recordings, from like people like Wayne Shorter and so on, that I'd never, have come across or have a chance to check out. So I'd probably start there, and then I'd probably go to the, if you like, world music section. I'd check in African, Brazilian. And then I would next probably go to the classical section.